going to record and discuss how to run our TRS Payments integration into GP and how to also import the W-9s into the system. So first, let's get the data into GP. So I receive a file from Baltimore City for this round's TRS payments. I take that file and I need to copy it out to or save it to in this case, my H drive. Your drive may be different, but I'm looking for the AT file 03 folder with the TRS payments folder underneath. So I'm going to save it out here. I need to specifically name it TRS payments once I've saved it to this location because the Smart Connect integration works with that file name. Now the city should have created two tabs within this submission payment, one for the vendor maintenance and one for the vendor payments. So with that file saved in this location, I'm going to then launch and connect to Smart Connect. Once I'm in Smart Connect, I'm going to go to my apps, and the first integration I'm looking for is the CARES vendors integration. So I'm going to simply double click on that to open it up, and then I'm going to click run. And now it's going to prompt me to ask if I would like to run this integration now or map now. I'm going to click yes. And I'll be prompted with a progress bar, number of records in the file. If there were any errors, it would say it here, and then the number of successful information. Any errors would be listed down below in this white space, but for this, I'm done integrating the vendors for this pay run. So I'm going to click done with this integration. I'm going to go back to my map setup, select the CARES invoices integration, and then I'm going to click run for the invoices. This will integrate into GP's payables transaction entry window under the CARES batch ID, so I can review and then post the transactions later. So right now I'm going to say yes to the same prompt. Do I want to run the map? It'll open up my progress window. And now it's slowly creating those transactions and adding them into GP. So my transactions have now completed for the payables transaction entry window. All 47 records, all successfully integrated. So I'm done with Smart Connect. I don't need to make any additional changes or integrations into GP. If I go into GP and go to my purchasing transaction entry, I can select a batch ID. I can see my CARES batch ID. And from there, I can see all the CARES integrations that I just processed in the system or brought in. I can also then print an edit list for review and approval. And once that prints, I can then have it signed and approved before posting. But that's the integration process into GP for the CARES Act's information, both vendors and invoice entry. So the next thing I need to do is to get the W-9s that have been provided into the system. So what I've done is I've taken that file that they've provided that was zipped, and I've extracted it out into the W9 folder location. In this case, submission 1. So here's all the files associated with the vendors that were in the folder. So if I go back to this folder, I'm going to open it up. So I am really concerned with A and E files here, or columns. So I'm going to copy them, save it to, open up a new tab, delete B through D. Okay, so I need my location information. So that is the location of the folder. So if I scroll to the folder location and click on the address bar, I can simply Control A and Control C that information. And then I'm going to come back in here and paste and then fill down. So I now have the location, and what I want to do is combine this location with this file name. So the easiest way to do that is a folder or a formula called concatenate. So if we start spelling it out, C-O-N, it's the first option here. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to select the location cell, and then I'm going to select the file name cell. Okay, close it out with my brackets, and now I have, whoops, I need to put a closing folder location there, but now I have the location and file name that I need for the next part, which is the importing of the transactions. Now I just need to copy down. So I don't need these two file locations or columns in my import file, and actually the import file is only going to work with the location and the vendor name. So in that order. So vendor ID first, then location. So the best way to do that, since these are formulas, is to first highlight the column, click copy, and then come down here to paste and hit the drop down arrow key. And what we're looking for is the paste values. So I'm going to paste the values, and now I can see that it's a complete value rather than a formula. This allows me to then delete columns B and C. And then one more thing I need to do is the file doesn't need to have headers in it. So I'm going to delete the first row and then simply save this as a save as. And what I need to do is change this to a comma delimited or CSV file format. And I'm going to simply save it as import. You can save it as any name that you want, but the big thing here is that the first column needs to be the vendor ID and the second column needs to be location. Those are the only two requirements of the file other than CSV format. Yes, I want to replace. And I'm done. With that, I don't need any more, and I don't have to save here. And if you simply want to review that, you can. If I go out to the import file and open it with something other than Excel, you can see the vendor ID, comma, location. So now I need to get the data into GP. So I'm going to come down here to the vendor card. So this will open up the vendor maintenance window. What I need to do is, before putting in any vendor information, is just click on the additional tab. I should have an option that says import documents. This will bring up the document attach management window with a prompt for where's that vendor document import file. So it's telling you it needs to be in CSV file format, and it's asking me to browse to the location. So I'm going to simply browse to that location. And in my case, it's the H drive. And then TRS Payments. And then here it is, the import CSV file. I'm going to click on that and then hit the import button. So if the file does not exist, it will skip the record and it'll prompt you that the record isn't there. So this is a good case of all the files being named PDF in the document that was provided by the city, but the actual format is a different format. So if we look in here to submissions, the file format is a JPEG, PNG, or a JPEG here for the next one. So we're going to get prompted a couple of times saying that the file format wasn't correct. We were either have to change the file and re-enter them, or simply go to these 3 or 4 vendors that are different, and 5 vendors that are different, and import them manually. Whichever one is easiest, but for now we'll skip this file, go to the next one. It'll prompt us again for the next file, previous one, and another. So once it's done, it'll tell you the number of completed files. So in my case, I've already done this previously. So the completed imports are 0. It skipped over them because the file name has already existed for that particular vendor. If the file wasn't there, this would be 40 on this side, 0 skipped, and then the 6 that had a different file name, we would have to either manually attach them or redo the file format and upload them again. Now if I want to review that, I can simply go to one of the vendors and look to make sure that the transaction's there. So let's go to vendor 3147. So if I go to vendor 3147 and then hit on the attach button, I can see that there is a PDF attached to it. And if I preview that transaction, it'll bring up the PDF for that particular vendor. There you have it. That's how we integrate the data into GP for the CARES or TRS payments information with associated W-9s. Thanks.